Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. Wherever it is in the world that you're calling for us today, calling into us today, we are so glad that you have taken the time to join us. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Dr. Anna Wise. I am Associate Dean of Admission and Director of International Recruitment here at Hamilton College. And I am so glad to be joined by a wonderful panel of current students who I'm going to ask to introduce themselves in just a moment. But our plan for today is to have kind of a conversation of sorts. We know that a lot of you who are on this call are looking forward to beginning their college application process, and you probably have quite a few questions. Maybe you're even applying to schools in multiple different countries, and different ways of approaching applications are on your mind. So today what we're going to do is we're really going to focus on the application process, particularly through the lens of three students who've made it, right? Three students who've gone through the process and are now studying in the US. They're going to give you some advice and some of their experiences as well. And we should also have plenty of time for questions. Now, I do want to let you know that we are joined right now in the background. I have my colleague, Addie. Addie is another admission officer who also works with international students, and she's going to be answering any questions that you have, whether you enter them in through the Q&A or through the chat. Feel free to ask your questions. Addie will answer any of them that she feels that she can do so through text. And if you ask a question that she thinks would be really helpful for the panelists to address, she will pass those on to us. So we do want to encourage you to use the chat or the Q&A to ask your questions, and we look forward to answering them. But without further ado, I would love to have our panelists introduce themselves. So starting with, why don't we start with Diane?
Hi everyone. My name is Diane Siminaganda, and I'm from Rwanda. I'm in the class of 2026, and yeah, I go to Hamilton. I'm a part of the DMC, which is the Center for Diversity and Inclusion. I'm a part of the International Student Service, and also I'm a part of the Caribbean and African Student Association. I think that's about it.
Thank you, Deanne. Wonderful. David, why don't you go next?
Yeah, my name is Chingslim Batbaya, but I also go by David. I'm class of 2025. I'm from Mongolia, so very excited to be here. I'm a CS and Japanese double major. I work in the admissions office. I work as an RA, and I'm also the founder of both the Anime Club and the App Development Club here at Hamilton.
Awesome, awesome. And last but not least.
Hi, my name is Oluwayomi Feadenero, but I go by Raya. I'm a second year, rising sophomore. I'm a double major. I am not a double major yet. I'm planning to double major in economics and computer science. I am a part of the soccer club, Woof. I'm a part of the International Cultural Association. I'm the event coordinator of the International Cultural Association, and I'm a peer mentor. So that's fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think Deanne's video is going to come back on in just a moment, but she's still with us. So I'd love to start our question off with a good starting point, which is, if you remember a few years ago when you started your college search process, right? So maybe it was a few months earlier than August of the year of your application. Maybe it was in August, you know, procrastinators unite, maybe tomorrow. If you remember your search process, can you share with us a little bit about what was that experience like? And maybe we'll start with you, Uriah.
Oh, okay. So, well, I was scared. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. It was a big change from the United States seems so far away. But during the application process, during searching for schools, I realized people that read my applications were people too. They were human beings too. So it wasn't like I was placed in front of a giant machine to judge me. It was just people that were interested in learning about me, and they wanted me to be in the school. It's not as if they were trying to cut me off, but they were looking for reasons to make me a part of the community. So that really helped me. So my college search got easier when I went to programs like this, and I went to programs like this, and I talked to students, I talked to the admission staff, and I realized, yeah, they're just human beings as well. interested in learning my story and giving me a chance to be part of the organization, part of the institutions. So yeah, college search was a bit scary at first, but getting to programs like this, meeting people and looking up schools online was really helpful. I made it a lot less scary and easier.
I think that might seem intuitive, but is actually really, really helpful, because the whole process, if you think about it just on a macro, can be like very
Yeah.
overwhelming, right?
Oh, yeah,
But if you think about like, oh, actually, there are real human beings who are involved with this. Some of those are scary admission officers, and some of them are also students who are current students who you can connect with. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that I think is really, really helpful. I agree with you in humanizing the process.
Yeah.
And being able to reach out to current students can be
Yes.
really great. David, how about you?
Oh yeah. My college, at least the search process was really simple. I think overly simple. I just kind of like Googled financial aid, liberal arts, open curriculum, and then I found usnews.com with a list of like 10 colleges. And I was like, okay, those are the colleges. I obviously did a lot more research into it. I went to each one of their websites and I started looking at what kind of classes they offer, if they had a core curriculum, whether or not they had like the departments I was interested in. So that's one thing I definitely think you would benefit from, is like if a school is really good, but then maybe their psychology department isn't as strong as their business department, but you want to major in psychology. That's something I definitely recommend you do. And this part, well, it was at least part of my process, because at the time I was thinking of majoring in linguistics and philosophy. So at least during my college search process, that was something I was definitely looking at. I found these schools on usnews.com from the rankings, and then I was like, okay, let me just see what their website says about their linguistics department or their philosophy department. And then after that, I had a list of like 6 or 7 schools that I really liked, and then on top of that, my parents being the typical Asian parents, they're like, you're gonna apply to the IB schools as well. I was like, fine. And then I had a couple of IBs on there that I knew I wasn't gonna like fully out. It was gonna be really competitive, but I also figured, might as well try to the ones that had 5 essays instead of ones that had 9 essays in them. So I was like, okay, I'll I'll get a couple of those in my college list. But the actual colleges I really wanted to get into was through the the US News ranking, and then after going through the website. Yeah.
I think there's something really interesting in your answer also, which is talking about, okay, so originally you were interested in linguistics, right? And you're like, this is a really focal point for me. And then I know now you're computer science and Japanese, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that's really different about the US system. Is it's important to have in mind, like, of course, what am I interested in studying? And some folks are like, I'm really interested in this, and they study it all the way through. But sometimes a place like Hamilton can be a great place to discover new academic passions and new interests. So I think it's a good piece of advice when you're thinking about schools. Yes, focus on the major that you're interested in, but also make sure that there's more about the school other than just the major that appeals to you, because you might surprise yourself, right?
Definitely.
You might surprise yourself. So Deanne, I'd love to ask you, so the decision in general to study in the United States is a very brave decision, right? Like if it's brave, it's hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it, right? But particularly with the past couple of years, there's been a lot of things going on that have made it an even braver decision globally to say, yes, I'm going to study thousands of miles away in a different country, different culture, different environment. Can you share a little bit about what made you decide to study in the US? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. By the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to say my major. That's because I'm undecided. I really don't know what my major is yet, but I'm planning on majoring math and double majoring, but I haven't decided yet. So yeah, that's true. Really coming to study here was a brave decision, but that's because I really wanted to be the first person in my family to actually come to the United States, because my family, they're more like, they speak more French, so they do not speak English, and it's like no one has even thought of coming to the US. If you had asked them, they'll be like, I want to go to Canada, I want to go to France, but no one really thought of the US. So I'm more interested in the US because I had really done my research about what I wanted, because growing up, I wanted to be an actress. Don't ask me about now, but growing up, I really wanted to be an actress. And one of the really, they have a really good industry for that. So
Yeah.
been growing up, I was like, yeah, I really want to go there. I really want to see why is it the best? Why? What do they offer and everything? So when I was in my what you call second grade, which is back home senior six, that's when I was like, I really want to go. Now I know I want to go because I want to major in econ. Now it's no longer econ is no longer an option. But I was like, I want to major in economics. I want to major in economics, and they really have good programs. So when I was doing my college research, I didn't know where to start about the whole application. Honestly, I didn't know anything about how to apply. I didn't know how to get college, how to find like really good college. What do I need to find in a college to make sure that it's where I really belong? So I had to join a program called Education USA program, and that's when I can say my college application process started. The whole journey, that's where it started. That's when they introduced me to Common App, everything, doing the SATs and all. But I really did not know anything. So it was like a whole new journey, a whole new application process, a whole new process I did know nothing about. But the more I did the application, the more I really found the idea of coming here a bit scary, because that's when you get to actually start thinking about homesickness, about culture shocks, about all these realities that you meet when you get here. So the more I was in the process, the scarier it got. But then again, what made it a little bit easier was I went to boarding school. I was like, it's not really different. I can still come back for holidays and all, but it's not really that different. But it is when you get here, you realize it's really different, but it's worth it. It's really worth it.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I know there's a lot of people, and probably potentially some folks on the call today, who are in a similar situation where they say, I'm interested in this thing. It's different than what my family's done. What kind of resources can I have access to? And the one you talked about, which is Education USA, I think is a really great resource that not everybody's aware of, which is sponsored by the US State Department. And their goal is to help students navigate application process to study in the US. And they offer free services, and they are in over 100, like 80 countries around the world. So if you're in that situation, it definitely does not hurt you to do a Google search and say, hey, where's my nearest Education USA center? And sometimes it can be a really helpful, part of the process. So David, can I ask you the same question? What made you decide to study in the US?
Oh, definitely. For my decision, it was more based on what I was interested in studying. Because I have, like, my family has lived abroad a couple times, mostly because of my father's education. So at least that part of the process, I wasn't too I had a little bit more like exposure to that part of the process, so that wasn't part of the issue where the issue was for me. And so I was actually lucky in that sense that all I had to think about was where I saw myself, and whether or not I felt comfortable going there and living there for 4 years. And the decision really came down to one, whether I don't know, I have this weird idea of the Great Britain, no shade on them, but I don't know, for me it's just such a dreary place, like in my head. I guess it's from all the movies I've been watching. That was part of the decision, but another part was also because I wanted to do linguistics, but I also wanted to do philosophy on the side. And I have a hobby of drawing, so I figured, why not take art classes? And it really boiled down to whether or not I'd be able to do that when I was in college. And from the way I understood it, the liberal arts colleges in the US was like the best place for that. Whereas if I went to, like, I don't know, a college in UK or Europe in general, it's like I have to declare what I'm studying beforehand, and then I just like do that for all 4 years. I didn't have the freedom of like switching things around, like exploring a little bit. And that was really all it boiled down to, was whether or not I'd be able to do that. I did look at a couple like Asian countries where they did have the open liberal arts curriculum over there, but I don't know, it felt a little too close to home. So
Yeah, you wanted to go big.
Go big or big, go home. Yeah.
Go big
So
by
that's
studying at a
how I
school with 2,000 students.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, no, I can definitely understand that there are some, I mean, some folks who say, hey, I know exactly it's one thing I want to study. And in that case, UK might be a great option. But for people who say, hey, I know I have a lot more than one interest and I might potentially change. Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. But there was something else in that question, which was in your answer, which was about your perceptions of the UK. I imagine you also all had perceptions of the US as well. Now you've had the experience of living in the US, at least for 1 year. But so I'm interested in that question. So I know media shows us a lot of things about what it's like to be a college student in the US, right? Versus the actual lived experience, which I'm sure is somewhat similar and also notably different. So I'd love to ask Uriah, what do you think was surprising about, like, did you have expectations of what it's going to be like when you study in the US? And were those expectations kind of subverted in a positive way? Were they pretty consistent? Like, what did you think the experience would be like? And then how were things surprising?
Okay, hi, thank you. But before I go into the question, I want to shout out, I want to thank Education USA Nigeria too. I was a part of them, and they were a very, very important part of my application process. I met people like myself from different parts of the country, fighting towards the same goal with the same passion as I had. So yeah, I just can't do something like this without mentioning them because they were 40 years of my life, they were really important. So about the US, well, my dad is a very big fan of the US. He's been here once and like 10, like 30, 40 years ago, but he just won't stop talking about it. So yeah, I was ill to this. I grew up with this interest in the United States because my father was a big fan. So I grew up with this interest in the United States. So he had always wanted him to study abroad. And I was like, yeah, to me, it was such a big, impossible idea at the time growing up because well, like yeah, he told me I see I wanted to go study in the US, and I was like, I don't see that happening. You see where I am right now. Yeah, it's really unlikely. But then he stopped pressuring me about it. But then after high school, I knew people from my college that went from my high school that went to the US to study, and I was like, well, if they can do it, I'm sure I can as well. And so I was, yeah. Yeah, so we're going to Hamilton. So because of the especially of the US, I know that it can be the cities can be a bit crowded and a lot is going on. And I'm used to quieter space with a lot of green grass and not apartments and stuff like that. So Hamilton was one of my choices mainly because it's in a small, beautiful town where I can interact with people on a very, very minimal level and then build up my skills and confidence towards moving to a larger place. So it's just to be safe and to be, to start from a small scale. I chose Hamilton because it's a small liberal arts college with like 200,000 students, which is it's not a lot actually for a college. It's pretty small for a college. And then Clinton is a very small town as well with people that are very likable. I did a lot of research on the community field of Hamilton College and other colleges. And yeah, everything just broke right to me because I was a bit scared. My dad liked the US, but I watched enough movies to be a bit weary. So I decided to go for a community for a college where I'll get a community and a feel of on a small scale, a lot of love and care, and then from that place develop myself in the United States.
Absolutely. And that was that focus on community that ended up playing out pretty well.
Yeah. Hamilton
you-
is great. Clinton is great. Utica is nice. Yeah, I think it's working out for me. Thank you.
So, Deanne, same question. I know you said that your family is not full of people who, similar to Uriah's father, is running around.
Yeah.
Went to the US one time, let me tell you about it. So maybe your expectations were a little bit more formed by, I don't know if that's true, formed by media or things like that, or did you have expectations and how were those different when you actually arrived?
Thank you. So I'm a person of community. I really love socializing and all. So when I came here, I was hopeful for the best. So but I expected the worst, honestly. I really did not expect people to be friendly. But people here are really friendly. The people here are really friendly. They're nice. and like they really will help you. That's one thing that I really love about here. But I really do not enjoy winter.
Yeah,
You're from
solid,
the same part
solid.
of the world like me. If you're from a place where it's never too hot or too cold, like it's always moderate, and you get here, yeah, that part would not be the best. Like
No.
winter's not really the best. And if you're in upstate New York, yeah, yeah,
Are you suggesting it snows here? What?
no, it doesn't snow. It storms. It's storms. It doesn't even snow. That's not snow. That's storms. Like yeah,
Oh my
that part.
God.
Like winter, I really did. Yeah, I knew it was gonna snow. I know it was cold, but did I think it was that bad? No, not really.
Had you experienced snow before coming to the
No,
US?
never
No,
seen snow
you've never
before.
seen snow.
I've never even been in a place where it was that cold, let alone see snow. Like coming, but my part of the word, like it's always moderate, like really moderate, not too hot. And even the summer is not really. It's really okay. Maybe this is because this summer was a bit unpredictable. It was raining, not really that hot. But the summer is okay, but the winter is not. And another thing is like the professors here, like it is easy to really interact with the professors. They're really welcoming, they're really friendly, they will assist you in any way. I'm sorry, I think there's a plane flying over me and it might be making noise.
I can hear it here too.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like the professors here are really willing to assist you in any way, which is not something common everywhere in the world. They're really friendly, and it's really easy to like catch on everything when you get to actually talk to the professors here. The key to actually getting to understand your courses, understand, like make decisions, there's many resources. That's one thing. I knew there were resources, but not as much as I really found out. Like there is really a lot of resources if you're someone like me who's really trying to find out what they want. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the focus on winter, it is true, right? 4 seasons here at Hamilton.
Yeah.
So you're going to experience snow, and some of you might experience it for the first time.
Yeah.
So I know you're right. You're like, me too. David, I'm sure you've experienced snow before.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What would you like to add on any of these topics?
Yeah, definitely like winter was the one thing I didn't need to get accustomed to. Um, but everything else was kind of a process because I realized, at least with a lot of the international students, seniors that I hung out with, like they all really like come into themselves and into like fully comfortably into the college community around maybe like the sophomore second semester, like junior year, because like the first year you're like getting accustomed to being in the US, getting accustomed to like doing the conversion in your head every time you buy something. Even now I buy like food and I'm like, oh my god, this is 4 times more expensive than back home. And then afterwards, the second year you're comfortable in the US, and then you get comfortable with college. Now you can like fully go at Hamilton, but there's still a little bit of like getting used to the resources, finally reaching out and like joining clubs more comfortably, like maybe opening your own. And then I think like afterwards, once you have like that footing both in the US and in college, you really like things get a lot better, and a lot more fun, definitely. So I wouldn't really add anything to the answers before, but just that there is like almost a timeline that I've observed with a lot of my friends, and just wanted to put it out there.
I think that's important to acknowledge, right? Is like, I'm sure folks on this call have a lot of goals, and a lot of, and studying in the US is one of those goals, and how it fits into a lifetime of goals. And hopefully the process is going to be
Definitely.
great, and you're going to grow as an individual, and all of your dreams are going to come true. But there's going to be a time when things are hard, right? And acknowledging, particularly at the first year, like, again, it's a brave thing that you're thinking about doing, and being prepared for that, and understanding that sometimes it might not be like immediately easy, right? But
Yeah, definitely.
giving yourself the investment of fortitude to continue going through it. Sometimes you're going to experience snow. And part of that also, realizing, as Deanne said, there are resources to support you. And particularly at a school like Hamilton, for instance, you can get free parkas from the Glen House if you want to, big winter coats, and you can rent those for free for the full winter, from our
What?
leadership center. Yeah, you could do it.
Wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, you gotta go to Glen House and you gotta sign it out. I'm telling you, I know several students who do this every winter.
Thank you so much.
So we're discovering resources even right now.
Yeah.
But realizing that it's not meant to be easy necessarily, right? We grow diamonds under pressure type of thing, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean sit in your room and struggle type of situation. Making sure that you're talking to your advisors, talking to your faculty, talking to your classmates and saying, hey, I'm going through something right now. What kind of resources are there? And Hamilton is really lucky that they do have the system called the Alex Advisor system, which is one of the 3 advisors that every student works with. And the idea is also that you can, if you have a question or you need some kind of support, you have one person who's your initial first contact, and that's your Alex Advisor. And even if other types of schools don't necessarily have that resource, there will be resources for you. And so part of what's going to ensure your success is learning what those resources are before we're in trouble. Right before. Now we do have some questions that are coming in through the chat right now, and so I'd like to take a bit of a pivot and ask some of those questions. Specifically, a few people heard Uriah saying, I'm about to be a double major, and Deanne saying, I'm undecided at this moment, but I'm thinking about different areas. David saying, I've changed my mind entirely about what I'm studying. So we have some questions about being undecided and also taking advantage of the open curriculum. So one of the questions said, did most of you come in undecided? Something I've noticed is that the US is a variety of majors, and other places there are just a few majors. And another question we got, which is similar, says, do you feel like students go down a concentrated path rather than taking advantage of the open curriculum? So before I ask y'all about this and your experience, I will share with you, Hamilton is a little different from some other schools where we require everyone to start off undecided, right? So for your first year of study at Hamilton, you are not allowed to say, this is the major I want to study. The reason for that is because if you do that, you kind of encourage people to just stay in one lane, right? Type of thing. But as you've heard, several of our students today have already changed academic interests and taken classes that are new to them, or maybe are presented in a new way that have really appealed to them. So we have the structure which says for the first year, you're going to be undecided. And then you can declare your major starting in your second year. And this does not slow you down for graduation or anything like that. In fact, it's a requirement, remember. So everybody's going to go through this process. So with that said, I'd love to turn the question of open curriculum over to Deanne, as you are still one of our students in the undecided area. Can you speak from your own perspective? Do you think that, how have you been able to navigate the open curriculum? And do you see other students kind of staying in one lane or people taking a lot of subjects? What do you think about that?
Yeah, this takes me back to the point of actually doing your research before you actually decide which college. Because let's say I decided to go to a college which does not have an open curriculum or which does not even offer that option of starting undecided. That would have meant I would have gone straight to econ, because in my head I was like, I have to major in econ, but I really did not consider the fact that I can also major in something else. So coming here to Hamilton and really navigating the open curriculum gave me options, a lot of options, other options. You are able to take classes that you would not even have thought of. You can even start pre-med when you already did econ in secondary. That's something I really did not think was an option. So when I got here, if you had told me 2 years ago that I was going to be considering to major in math, I would have laughed straight to your face, no offense. But now I feel like I really am undecided now, but I actually have sense of what I love, if you know what I mean. So really doing the open curriculum here at Hamilton helped me a lot. I cannot emphasize how much really that helped me, because it opened my eyes to all the opportunities that I have, all the options that I have, and I have to choose. And I still have a semester and a half to actually decide, which is more of an advantage to me. So also the Alex advisors really are helpful, really, really helpful. You can feel troubled about the academics and be like, I really want to know, but I don't know who to ask. You have Alex advisors, you have an advisor who's actually your counselor, academic counselor. You can go to the career center. Like there's a lot of resources. So doing that helped me really see what I want to do. I came in and decided. I'm still a little bit undecided, but at least I have a sense of what I really love and want to do. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think I think it's oftentimes a surprise when you hear the words liberal arts college. You think, oh, people are probably all studying arts, despite the fact that math is actually our second most popular major here at Hamilton. So I think that comes as a bit of a surprise to some people, and definitely a surprise to yourself, even if you say, oh, I'm going to be a math major. Look at me. Or considering. I know right now, as you said, you do have plenty of time, and students usually will declare somewhere in their second year. So plenty of time still to go there. So David, similar question, because I know you've had a little bit more time on campus now. Your own experience with the open curriculum, and do you find students tend to really stick in one academic lane, or do they kind of go all over?
Oh yeah. So I'm actually looking at the question right now on this side as well. And I think it's you really can't help but go all over the place. There are like different like tracks that you can go on, like pre-law or pre-med, pre-finance. So basically you'd get like your own separate advisor for these tracks, and then you have like specific classes you're supposed to take to fulfill those. So Nastya, I see that you asked that question of whether or not they go on a concentrated path. But the thing is that like a major is around 10 classes long. And these paths are like maybe 20 something classes long. And you need 32 to graduate. So even if you do go on like a specific path that like, you have to take certain classes at certain times, even then you have at least 2 or 3 1 or 2 classes per semester, or 3 or 4 like throughout the academic year that you can just take whatever classes you want. And so even if you're going down a concentrated path, because you still need to take a certain number of classes per semester, it's 4 classes per semester because you need 32 credits to graduate. You still have, a lot of freedom with your remaining classes to take whatever you want. Because like I know students who are pre-med students who are like going to like medical school after graduation, but they have like an art minor on the side. Or I know students who are like biochem majors who are doing like music, who are in the part of the orchestra and stuff like that. So it's like definitely a lot of students, they'll come in thinking I want to do econ, and they'll start taking econ classes from like their first semester here, and they major in econ. But even then, on the side, there's so much space for you outside of the major to just like do whatever you want with the remaining, I don't know, 26 credits that you have. And so definitely I would, at least my answer would be that irrelevant of whether or not you're trying to do a specific path, or if you have a specific major in mind, you're still going to spend at least a good third or a good half of your time at Hamilton just like taking advantage of whatever classes you can take. That's been my experience.
Yes. So if you shared the number 32, so technically to earn a degree at Hamilton, you need to take 32 different classes over 4 years, which is why it breaks down to 4 per semester. You can take 5 if you'd like to. It's not advisable to do that every semester because you're going to get really stressed, and depending on your course load. So to break that down in a little bit of the math, if your major is about 10 or so, 10 to 12 classes, that's about a third of your coursework. So if you wanted to have just one major, there's going to be requirements in your major, but outside of your major, that would be 2/3 then to do whatever you'd like to study. And a minor would be considered half of a major, usually, type of thing. So a lot of students will have at least a major and a minor, if not 2 minors, or even double major. There's lots of opportunities for that. But hopefully that was helpful in talking about navigating the open curriculum, because I think for a lot of people, they say this is just so different, right, than the curriculums that are offered in my home country, particularly if I graduated from a national curriculum where oftentimes there are not a lot of options, right? And you're going to say, this is what you're studying. Maybe you have one elective type subject. The idea of an open curriculum can be quite different. So very helpful to hear how it is in practice. Now we do have another question, which is about getting off campus. So we mentioned that Hamilton is, oh, I don't know if we mentioned it, but let's confirm for everyone on the call. So Hamilton is in New York, but if you're like, people keep saying like mountains and nature type of thing, realize New York is more than just New York City, right? As Hamilton is about a 4-hour drive from New York City. It's a mountains, rivers, trees, and valleys will give you a pretty good idea of what our campus is like, really. So with that said, town of Clinton has been referenced a couple of times, as well as I think Utica. And Uriah, I'm going to pass this question to you, as you were the one who talked about this community previously. So can you share about, is it easy to get off campus? And how much time do students spend on campus versus off campus? How do you get around? Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah, gladly. Well, I go off campus quite a bit. The jitneys are there. Jitney is like a service that takes students off campus for free. It takes a loop. It takes us to 3 towns actually. It takes us from Clinton to New Hartford to Utica if you decide to. So it's take imagine sometimes I just hop on the jitney and just drive for 1 hour straight. I don't come down anywhere because it's just I like to get a sense of my environment. So the jitney is a resource that's available all days of the week at certain times from like 2 p.m. to like 8 p.m. every day, then 12 on weekends, 12 to 8 on weekends. So the jitney is how I get along. And then the community is really friendly. I go for, I think I've been to a couple of farmers markets. I walk down the hill. I walk down the hill sometimes, but not back up the hill because that could be a very strenuous journey. But yeah, I walk down the hill. I walk through the environment in Clinton, and people just see me, just like Hamilton. Everybody sees me like, hi, and I'm like, hi, it's nice to meet you. And I don't know you, but it's nice to meet you too, because you're just so lively. You're just so lively. So Clinton is great. I go to Utica to get some food. I get Hamilton, my friends introduce me to different variety of food from different parts of the world. So I go to Utica to get food from Jamaica, Caribbean food. I get Asian food. I get Caribbean food, Asian food. I get Mexican food. I love food, and Hamilton provides a lot of that, and the community around also provides a lot of that. So in general, I believe the community is not just beautiful, but it's also it has very amazing people who are very friendly and nice.
Yeah, I think so. Getting connected to the area is definitely something that students have the opportunity to do, particularly through the jitney, like you were saying, which is basically it's a van that drives around, and it's a free shuttle service, right? It's a van says Hamilton on it, and it's a free shuttle service that you're able to take to go into a local community. And Utica is actually a refugee relocation city, which means that we have people from all around the world who have moved to Utica, which then connects itself also to a lot of different cultural innovations, including food, right? So I think a lot of people are not necessarily aware of like the levels of cultural grocery stores and restaurants and types of things that you can get access to in Utica. So we are very lucky to have that resource nearby for sure. So I'd love to, I know we have a student who's asked a question now about residence halls. Their question is, I'll have to choose a dorm. Can you talk to me about choices? So that might be a little premature, honestly, at this point, to say what are the options specifically for the first year dorms. But I do know, David, particularly that you are an RA, right? So you have a lot of experience in housing. So what I would like to ask is first, what's an RA for people who don't know what that is? And second, can you talk a little bit about housing on campus? And then I'd love if Deanna or Uriah would be able to share and also about some of your experiences in housing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Really quick fact, when you come, if you do come to Hamilton, you wouldn't have any RAs anymore, because we are rebranding to CAs, community advisors.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I like the RA more than CA.
We're learning so many things together as a group.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'd love to answer that question. So basically the way that housing works, and to start off with the questions on what an RA or a CA is basically an advisor almost, who is a senior, a student who's in an upper class, that are assigned to dorms, and most of the time they're assigned to every floor. So every floor of every dorm would have an RA in them. And basically what they'll do is they'll help you like get moved in. They'll be the first resource for you. So basically everything from like helping you kind of like navigate Hamilton. If you have any questions, you can always pop into your RA's room, help them out. And basically what they'll do is that they'll help you with everything related to residential life. If something's broken in your room, you tell your RA and we'll get it fixed. If you have a disagreement with your roommate, we can help you like basically de-escalate the conflict, help you come to a resolution for your for the disagreement. And on top of that, also, if, for example, you need anything at all regarding maybe you got injured and you need a more accessible housing, because we have those, and basically your RAs will be like the first person to like help you with anything that's related to residential life. Going on to what your dorms would look like. So basically the way that they're assigned is through a housing form. You can't really choose what dorms you'll live in really in your first year, because they're kind of like a random assignment. You can express interest in the dorms. So like they'll be like, oh, what dorms interest you? And you can like choose them. And you'll have access to the list of dorms on the website either way. And basically you'll answer things like how early do you sleep or wake up? How messy your room is on average, what kind of music you listen to. And so what they'll do is they'll match you up with a student who has a similar profile, so that, you know, even if it's not someone who's your best friend, it's someone you can like, comfortably coexist with. And most of the times you would only be in a double, triple, or quad, because Hamilton really wants you to kind of like go out of your comfort zone. If you have any friends that you know who are applying, we want to make sure you're in a room where you have someone new to explore, just so you have that like exposure to. Maybe you're an art major and he's a geoscience major, and you're like, I didn't know that was something you can do. So definitely that's the way it worked. And after your first year, you have a lot more freedom choosing, quads, 6 pools, suites, apartments, entire just like houses you can get with your friends, including specialty housing. So there is a lot of ways that residential life works. But the main takeaway is that as a first year, you wouldn't really be able to choose or affect it beyond being like, oh, this is my living habits and this is where I would like to be. Yeah, that'd be the main takeaways, at least from my end.
Yeah, so for first year students, well, Hamilton has arguably 28 or 29, depending on how you choose to count, residence halls on campus. 5 of those are reserved for first year students. So that means that as a first year student, as David shared, that you would be able to express, these are preferences that I have, but the more pressing thing that we're going to focus on is facts that you answer about yourself and your living situation, because we're trying to make sure we're matching you with someone who will be compatible for your living situation. And for continuing on years, you do get to have, there's more of a housing selection process, so you can have more of a say in what your preference of housing types would be. But hopefully that's helpful, and it's an important thing to keep in mind, because remembering that Hamilton is fully residential, which means that if you come to Hamilton, you will be living on campus for all 4 years. It's fully residential, unless you decide to do an internship semester in Washington, D.C., New York City, or Boston. That's one of our programs. Or if you decide to study abroad. So unless you're doing one of those 2 things, you would be living on campus as well. So Uriah, can you share a little bit about your experience living with residence halls, or maybe even getting on with your roommate? How did that process go?
Oh yeah. Hi. Yeah, my roommate and I are very, very close. As a matter of fact, we are rooming together this coming year. Yeah, I didn't see it happening at first. Just we're so different. I didn't see it happening at first. So something, but we take similar courses. I learn French and it's pretty good at French. So after every class, I come back and I start saying a bit of bad French. And it's just so like, he just tries to correct me because he just can't bear me speaking such bad French. So that's how the relationship started, because I come back and I'm like, I try to speak French. I did a horrible job and he corrects me. We have the same computer science class together. We play ping pong together. Yeah, I'm hitting it up with my roommates. He's definitely one of my best friends on Hampton College campus. And we have built not just a friendship relationship, but a relationship that allows us to live together successfully. We kind of have the same schedule, so we know what to do and what not to do. there was a little bit of an issue with the temperature because it is from Connecticut, which is pretty cold compared to Nigeria. So it likes it cold, and I liked it a bit. I liked it a bit, okay, much warmer. Sorry. So we had to come to an agreement. Like, okay, 60, 69, 68 is a very pretty safe temperature. And so it was a bit of a situation for like 1 week while we were sorted out. So we both respect ourselves. So if I turn the AC on, it doesn't want to turn it off because that's kind of disrespectful. So we have to sit down and talk about it for like 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and we sorted it out. Temperature works, this works, and that's cool. So I think you should give a roommate a chance, try to get to know them, and I think everybody in Hamilton is willing to be friends. And if you give it a chance and you honestly try to be friends and to try to create a relationship that works, it's definitely gonna work.
Yeah, I think that's fair, is that it might not immediately seem like it's going to be the smoothest sailing, right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a similar theme we've been talking about today. But making sure that we're having open communication and also trying to be open towards the needs of others, and then you can surprise yourself naturally with the types of relationships that can be formed. And we had a question that was added about making friends as an international student in general. I'm going to ask Deanne about this as well. What is the experience like making friends at Hamilton? The student who's asking this says the parents are very anxious due to cultural and racial differences. And they're interested in what's the process like making friends while studying in the US. Can you share a little bit about that, Dan?
Yeah, of course. As I say, people here are really nice and friendly, and it's really easy to make friends here on campus because there's not a lot to do in Clinton. Maybe you have in Utica, but most of the things are on campus. There's a lot of events. There's a lot of parties. But yeah, different parties, and like people here really like to socialize in different ways. There is food we like to eat, and you'll find it's really easy. You find clubs, a lot of clubs. There's a lot of activities. So through all that, and first and foremost way is through the orientation trips. They're called orientation trips, right? The other ones we take when we get here. When you get here, you get 4 days away on campus, and like you form a bond with your group. You get to meet people. You have different, like, it's a lot of ways, and it's really easy to make friends here. Yes, there'll be some culture shock. Yes, there'll be some culture differences, but it's easy. People really respect everyone. There's like a mutual respect. It's like a thing. You do not have to even ask, but you will see that people really here respect it. And there's you will always find your people. You will always find your people. That's a fact. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Thank you. And we talked a little bit about orientation trips, and I think I said, yeah, everybody knows about that. I'm not sure if that's necessarily actually true. So just I'm going to ask David the same question about making friends in the community. But first, I'm going to say something really quick about orientation, which is, so as Deanne mentioned, one of the first things that happens when you come to Hamilton is we have an orientation process. So first, there's the international student orientation. That's the first orientation you would go through, where we talk about important things like immigration, or how do you set up a US bank account, or just like what should I buy for my residence hall if I'm flying thousands of miles across the world. So basically focusing on international orientation first. Then there's a 4-day orientation trip process where every member of the first year class is going to go on basically a 4-day adventure, usually into the wilderness, sometimes into a service type of opportunity. But you have a group of about 10 students who go on this trip together. And as you're going through the shared experience together and everyone's new to college, oftentimes pretty good bonds can be made in that environment. After that, the final step of orientation process is coming coming back to campus and saying, how do you use the library card? What's the dining system like? Like the very the actual nuts and bolts that it'll take to be a successful student. You have basically 2 days for that, and then all of the rest of the campus comes back, and now we have classes. So that's kind of how the orientation process works in a very quick version. But going back to the idea of friendships, right? Is that reasonably fair? Yeah, reasonably fair, hopefully. David, how has your experience been being able to make connections across campus?
Oh, definitely. I definitely had the same experience as Diane. Like my parents are like, are you sure everything's okay? Like, are you sure you're not getting bullied all the time? And I'm like, no, why? They kept, I don't know, my first year, they kept worrying I was getting bullied for some reason. They're like, do they think you're weird because you eat your food a certain way? Do you dress weird? Do you walk weird? And I'm like, no, guys, like, calm down. But yeah, that's definitely been my, at least, but in regards to making friends, definitely Anna Wise was saying that like the orientation trips is definitely one of your like first friend groups, because my orientation trip was during a hurricane and I was canoeing during a hurricane. So that was a lot of trauma bonding on that trip. I once woke up with like my face in the water inside a tent because like it flooded in. So it's a very like, obviously wouldn't be as crazy because we don't have a hurricane here right now. But at the same time, it's something that you really like start to like develop close relationships with those people, especially because it's a week that you'll be living with them intense, which is pretty intense. But aside from that, also after you come back to Hamilton, as international students, you come here before all the other students do. So before a regular orientation, even you get here a week before that, and that's where we have the international student orientation. And definitely, I feel like international students here at Hamilton are really supportive of one another, because we've all been through the same boat. We all like came to the United States that have been here before. And so for that first week, you really develop that close bond with people, and all the the Dean of International Students here at Hamilton, like show up to like dinners. Residential Life will hold like a small little event for you guys. And I'm pretty sure Anna Wise will be there as well. And so basically, your international students become a huge like friend group. Like even you'll know students from like all 4 years that are like really close friends with you. And then after both orientations end, I think the way you make it is really just like going and putting yourself out there. So because Hamilton is open curriculum, it means all the students who are there want to be there, because they could have chosen like 20, 40 different classes they could have been part of, but they chose the one you wanted to be in. And when you start taking class after class and you see the same faces and and the same professors, you really start like connecting with them. And then if you're trying to join a club, for example, I know what we had a couple students asking about clubs. And then if you join a club, or if you create your own club, because I have also created my own club here at Hamilton, like it also becomes like a really strong way you can create like bonds with students. So I feel like it isn't something you really have to worry about. Like you're given a friend group, especially if internationals of like 70 people. The first week you're here, and then afterwards you have a safety net, and then you have your orientation group, and then you really try like explore and go out with clubs and academics, which I think is like the main way you make a lot of your connections, and that's how I also met most of my friends as well.
Absolutely. I think that's really helpful context, and saying, hey, some of the first people you're going to meet are going to be a bunch of other international students. Maybe they're from the same country, maybe they're from the same continent, maybe they're not, but a lot of similarities in terms of, hey, we're doing this brave thing together. And some may have been in the US and some not, but all of those types of experiences can be also a helpful starting point. Now, we have a lot of other questions and we are starting to run short on time, so I am sorry for that. So I might try and compile. The last thing I really wanted to talk about was what advice would you give towards international students who are getting ready to apply to college in the US? But we had some questions here as well. So I think I'm going to do a twofer, if that's okay. So 2 questions. That one, as well as if you could do it over again, would you still choose to go to Hamilton, which was a question that somebody asked. if you could do it again, would you still choose to go to Hamilton? We could choose between that or describing Hamilton in one word was the other way. So you can kind of pick one of those two, because those were two questions that were submitted. And then would you have a piece of advice for international students who are getting ready to apply? Deanne, can we start with you?
Okay, so the piece of advice to give to international student, honestly, it's not gonna be the easiest thing coming here. It's not gonna be the smoothest process and everything. It's really, really worth it at the end. And please bring, if you get into a US college, please bring a piece of your identity or your culture. It really helps having it with you, firstly because it will help you like teach other people about your culture and identity, and also it will be like a piece of home, something to remind you of home. And be open, like be open to learn new cultures, be open to learn new facts, because that's the whole process of coming here. It's learning new things, getting introduced to new things. So be open to all doing all that, and bring something from home to help you getting accustomed.
Yeah, I think
So
that's important.
that's something you really will need. And you say Hamilton in one word.
Yeah, if you had a word or maybe a phrase that you would use to describe Hamilton, what would it be?
Opportunities. Because it really is, it's full of opportunities. And one last thing to tell to international students is if you're someone who's really used to actually, like, let's say, I wouldn't use the word introvert, but more like someone who's really quiet and all. I was like that, honestly. I was like that. But the more you are actually open up to opportunities, open up to learning, open up to getting new skills and everything, it will be easier. Please don't be scared. It's not it's not easy, but you'll be you'll be able to do it, and it's worth it at the end.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Uriah. Same question, describing Hamilton in one word or one phrase. And also what piece of advice would you want to give to international students applying this year?
Okay. I'm a lot about community and humanity in the process. I remember the first thing I had in school, and you pretty much knew everything about me, and that kind of changed something to me because I was like, so people actually read deep into my applications. They study a lot about it because you got my name in the first row. You said my name exactly as it's pronounced back home, and you know so many things about me and so many things about the universities around. And that made me realize my idea about the process is not, it's different. It's not what I thought. It's a very, very humanized process. You went through the effort of reading my entire common application and everything I sent and be able to decide that yes, this student is someone I would like to have in school. I did that for all potential students that applied. So I feel like the process might be scary or might be difficult, but people read your applications, people that are willing to give you an opportunity, read your applications. So just bring out yourself in the applications when you apply. It's not a robot, it's not going to be scanned by an AI. Something is someone that wants to know about you reading it. For Hamilton, it's probably gonna be Dr. Anna Wise, but still, someone reads your applications and try to know that and bring your application in a way that is personal. There's a way that represents you. So that's my advice. And Hamilton. But I can say nice. Nice is not a big word, but nice covers everything. I think if you say something is nice, if I say the word, it just focuses on one particular aspect of it. If I say nice means beautiful, the campus is beautiful. Nice means friendly, people are friendly. I could just say Amazon is nice, but as a community, both the people, every part of it is very nice. Nice as in people friendly, and nice as in amazing. So Amazon is nice, and the application process humanize it, write it to what someone people. It's not an AI, just it's not someone is really interested in reading and learning about you. So that's my advice. Thank you.
And final grand finale, David, same questions.
Oh yeah, definitely. My answer is actually tied to one another. So it's like really, so I want to start off with how I describe Hamilton and its students. Is that initiative is rewarded. So anytime you're interested in doing something, if you wanted to open your own club, or if you're just like curious, you want to do a study abroad, or you just don't know something and you need help, taking the initiative and asking someone about it definitely goes a long way, because Hamilton really is here and they're really supportive of everything you do. But they can't really help you if they don't know you need help, or they can't really, support your the club you want to open up if they don't know that you're trying to do something like that. So definitely take the initiative to reach out to anybody, maybe your Alex advisors, maybe your RAs, maybe your classmates, and ask what they know, see if they can help you. And it's really important, especially because there's so much resources here, that it kind of gets overwhelming. Especially because even now I work as a tour guide, and so I have the almost an entire manual of what resources Hamilton has, and even then I'm just like learning new stuff about, like, oh wow, I didn't know we had this kind of resource that I could have taken advantage of. So that's also one of my regrets. I never really reached out as much to my Alex advisors, so definitely, or anyone really. So if you ever have, and it ties into each other. So if you take the initiative of writing that one email or asking your professor about something, related to research, that goes a long way. And that'd be my advice. And the one phrase is that initiative is really rewarded here. And definitely do your best to take as much of it as you can.
Absolutely. And I want to thank all of our panelists and thank all of our students who joined today from around the world also. So we really enjoyed having this conversation, and we always enjoy interacting with you. If you do have questions for us, you can of course reach out to admission@hamilton.edu. We know we tried to answer as many questions as we could, but we ran out of time, unfortunately. But we would love to have you reach out to us. In that way, we'll do our best to answer every question that's asked. Also, if you want to see more virtual programs like this, we're going to be doing more virtual programs. You can go to Virtually Hamilton, which is probably where you registered for this one. But you can also do hamilton.edu/discover and realize that we're going to be updating it every few weeks or so with additional topics that might be on your mind. But we wish you all the very best of luck as you start looking forward towards submitting your college application, working on final drafts of essays and your application process. We know that there's going to be a best fit and a best opportunity for you. And it's just really a matter of finding the place that's going to be fortunate to have you as a member of their community. With that said, thank you. We look forward to hopefully getting to interact with you a little bit more over time. But for now, thank you. Good night, good morning, good evening, wherever it is in the world you are.
Good luck to class of 28.
Yeah.
Class of 2028. Yeah.
Hey.